nice to see the Global Food Fellows. We started this initiative several years ago with the goal of creating a pathway to a sustainable, nutritious food future for the planet. As part of the initiative, we support the fellowship program, and like Karen, I'm very excited about the projects that you have underway, and I want to hear more about them.
And I'm working on a project with Sonoma Cooperative Extension looking at ranchers in Sonoma and Marin counties and their preferences for different payment structures for conservation easements. Specifically, I'm looking at identity and culture and how identity influences economic decision making. So often as economists, we miss out on anything that isn't a number. We miss out on things that don't have dollar values attached to them. And so one of the great benefits of being part of this Global Food Initiative field trip is that I'm able to actually get out and speak to some people in the field.
My GFI project is on trace metal distribution in urban agricultural soils and looking for optimal locations for food production that is safe for human consumption.
And in this project, we're focusing on arsenic soil contamination and looking at ways that we can remove it using a plant, a fern, Pteris vittata, which is able to take up arsenic from the soil and translocate that arsenic to the fern fronds, and then we remove those fern fronds, so we're sustainably removing the arsenic from the soil while leaving the soil in place.
My project works with food waste. I work to reduce the carbon footprint of food waste. My project uses microbial fuel cells. They're this large, and they're effectively living batteries, and they use bacteria to consume that food waste and then to produce electricity from that food waste. California produces over 6 million tons of food waste every single year. And we could convert that food waste, instead of something that rots in a landfill and produces methane that goes into the atmosphere, we could produce electricity that fuels our homes and our schools and our hospitals, and that's very exciting.
My project is a literacy program where we connect a local farmer to students, and we talk about food issues, whether it be food insecurity or food waste in general. And we try to create the connection that food doesn't just come from a supermarket. It comes from a farmer and the effort they put into the food.
So I am studying how climate change affects bee pollination in squash plants, and specifically I look at how warming and drought affect the plant growth, the pollination by bees, and fruit production in the squash plants.
I really liked the tour because I got to connect with farmers and people that I'm actually hoping my research is going to affect directly, and kind of seeing the diversity of agricultural opportunities in California that I don't really get to see in Riverside.
Well, as a soil scientist, I really appreciated the recurring emphasis on soils as the foundation for agriculture.
What I was most fascinated by was when we went to the cherry factory and just learning all the different components that go into when the cherries are dropped off after they've been picked to getting them out to the supermarket, and how many different lines they have to go through at the factory itself. It was just so much more complicated than I ever knew, and very fascinating.
What I loved about today's tour was connecting with everyone that's involved in agriculture and food systems and policy in California. I think that one of the best things that people involved in this area can do is communicate. It's actually talk with each other, make the connections, learn who is doing what, and learn how much we have here in California in terms of resources, in terms of how do we research new ideas, how do we convey those ideas to the public, how do we create better policies for the public. That's what I liked about today's meeting, was just meeting everybody and getting these fantastic connections.
I think this program and the fellowship especially is really important, especially for young scientists to really dive into this really huge subject of global food, and making sure that we have a prosperous future in food security.